Hello and welcome to 1861. It's another Tunisian stitch. You don't have to buy a Tunisian hook, but isn't this so fun? It's the same stitch that we used in the cap and scarf from the 1920s, 1930s cap and scarf. I just think this is a lot of fun. I came up with a way to work out the little rounds here. They say to use finish with small balls of wood, wool. I don't have any small balls of wood, but wood or wool, but we're gonna work this part out right here. They're doing it in checkerboard style, so I'm going to show you in checkerboard style, but I'm also going to show you if you just choose to use one color or variegated. I am going to do this in variegated. I already have my squares made except for one I'm going to make with you. Here is I went with Red Heart Super Saver in pink camo. Thought it was kind of fun. Came out kind of stripy. I bordered them with black. It does say to border them with black, but then it says to join them with yellow, but I'm going to probably join with the variegated. Or if you choose, you can do checkerboard, which I wanted to match. There's a cream in here, so I wanted to match that. And you can join with your white or your cream color instead, your off color. Or you can do everything in solids. It's entirely up to you. You can make as many squares as you want to make a blanket as big as you want. I'm going to be doing baby blanket size. I'm just going to show you a sample here. I will be making this blanket for someone we know that is having a baby. But I'm just going to show you sample size here. So we'll do 4 squares. So I need to make one more square so I can show you the checkerboard style. So I'm going to do 1 square in the pink. Or in the cream. I'm getting everything, all my colors. I mean, for all I know, that's blue. I'm just getting everything confused. So we will need a 5.5 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook, or you can use a regular crochet hook, just as long as it doesn't have any kind of a ergonomic handle. These Susan Bates hooks are about 5.5 inches long, and they aren't long enough to hold all 24 stitches that we're going to be working with. But if you have a hot glue gun, mine is gross because it is ancient. I've had it and it has like a fuzzy, that's cardboard. I had it resting on cardboard. It ripped a piece of the cardboard off. But anyways, mine is almost as old as my youngest. He's just turned 21. So on the back of your hook, there's the front. On the back of your hook, start with a little blurb. Just like that. Come down and around. And this pops right off because I was playing around with this last night. It stays on. It'll stay on virtually the entire project because I had to use my fingernails on both sides and really push, and boom, it came right off. But it will stay. So I'll just spin like a glass blower. Come down here. Make it a little wider. And you make your own Tunisian crochet hook. There we go. Put that way because it looks like it wants to. It's still soft, so we'll let gravity sort of bring it back. That way it doesn't try to drip down the hook. And spin, again, like a glass blower. That way it doesn't stretch itself out too much in one direction. Yep. When it's less crystal clear, it's starting to cool down. When it starts to get kind of cloudy and foggy looking. It's still soft. I'll be right back. And there you go. Now that it's not so crystal clear, it's completely dry. And it's not going to come off. And if it does happen to come off, which I was playing around with it a lot last night, it didn't come off at all unless I gave it a lot of force. you have more glue, you can just put it back on. That way you don't have to buy a hook and you can still make this beautiful pattern. So I will start off this pattern with this hook and show you that the 24 stitches we start with, yeah, this hook's not long enough for you. You really do need something on the back end. Okay, I highly recommend, and you'll see why, that you start with an obnoxiously long tail. Because we are making a whole bunch of squares, this is the best way to avoid a lot of ridiculous sewing in of the, weaving in of the ends. Okay, let's start with a chain of 24, and we're going to be working with 24 stitches across through the entire square. And I wasn't counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now in Tunisian crochet, the loop on your hook does count as your first stitch. So we will be skipping the first stitch, but we won't lose our stitch count. So skipping the first back bump, you do need to work in the back bumps. And into the second back bump, make sure you keep your first stitch close to the hook like this. You want that to be not super tight. You can see I'm not squeezing my finger, but you want it to be close to the hook to keep your edges clean and not loose and floppy. So your first stitch and your last stitch need to be close to the hook. Okay, so keeping that close to the hook, go into the second back bump from the hook and start collecting your loops. Go into the next, pull up a loop, and just keep gathering all of your loops onto your hook. And remember, this counts as stitch 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'll be right back. At 19, 20, 21, 22, oops, 23, and 24. Okay, so as you can see, it does help to have this on the back, especially as this square gets fuller and fuller. I did try working a couple of rows without something where you just have to pretty much use your pinky and cup all of your stitches. I did begin to experience some really uncomfortable hand fatigue after about the third row. So this is really going to be helpful. Okay, we're going to yarn over and chain 1 on all return passes. And you can see I'm keeping that close to the hook, not very loose. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and it doesn't matter if these are looser, that's fine. You just want to keep your first stitch and your last stitch really close to the hook so that you don't have floppy stitches on your edges, making it look all messy. Okay, so you might be familiar with the Tunisian full stitch, but I'll show you how to do it if you're not. And again, this was originally called the Princess Royal Stitch, and I love that, and I think we should go back to calling it the Princess Royal Stitch. Okay, there we go. That is what you should have. Now for Tunisian full stitch, or the Princess Royal Stitch, how it works is it's a 2-row repeat that's basically a 1-row repeat. What I mean by that is every other row you're going to either start in your first space or your second space, and you're going to either end in your second space or in your last space. The stitches need to stagger. I'll show you right here. They're kind of offset from each other, you see, in between. So in order to keep that going straight and not listing off to the side, we have to stagger them. So for row 1, you're going to go into the first space. Row 2, you'll go into the second space. So let's go into the first space and pull up a loop. And the space being between the stitches right here where my finger's coming out of, that's where you're going to work. So just go right into that empty void right there and pull up a loop. Okay, that's 3 because this one always counts as 1. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It helps to grab a hold of each stitch after you work it. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and don't be afraid to hold your stitches. Touching and holding on them isn't going to ruin how they're already worked. I was at 15, right? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and remember we're looking to maintain 24 stitches, so I'm going to skip the last space, but I'm supposed to because I started in the first space. So when you start into the very, very first space, which is right here, you're always going to skip the very last space and then just turn your work to the side, and you're going to see these 2 loops right here. That looks like a single crochet. That's what you're going to work, and you see it's going to be right off to the side like that. And that's where you work your last stitch of every single row. And again, you want to work that close to the hook. See how I don't pull up very far on it? I don't want that loose. Then kind of push your stitches forward a little bit. And we're going to chain 1. Each return pass gets a chain 1. Then yarn over and pull through 2. Pull through 2. 2. There you go. All the way. Okay, now this time around, we're going to skip the first space, which is fine. It's kind of closed off anyways, because working in the first space down here caused this first space, which is right here, to be a little more closed. So it makes it easier for us to actually see where we need to work next. And the second space is quite opened up. So we're going to go into the second space. Now that's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and I can look back if I forgot, did I start at the first or second space? And I can see that there's a pretty good gap right here, and that tells me, oh, I started in the second space, which means I need to actually use the last space this time on this end. So we're going to go into every space, and there is the last space, and then that looks like a single crochet on the side when you turn, right there. Keep that stitch kind of close to the hook, chain 1, and pull through 2 all the way back. After this row, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my Quicksilver hook. Okay. Now I can see that working in the second space down here has allowed a bit of a gap right here, and that gap right off the bat tells me, okay, this is the row where I work the first space. And that's just the easiest way I have found to keep track of it. And then as you get closer to the end, if you forgot, because you get distracted like I do, and everything, I work in the living room, so every little thing distracts me. all my fellas, phone calls, emails, people who have questions on Etsy, my dog Merlin. Everything distracts me while I'm working, and I get around to this point right here, and I start to go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I worked the first stitch. I can see it's narrow right here, and I can see that the first stitch is worked into. So then I know, okay, I'm going to skip the last space, which is right here, that my fingernail's coming out of. So I find that to be quite helpful. So I'm going to skip that last space and jump straight into our end stitch here. Keep that stitch close to the hook and pull through 2. So you're going to do this until you have 23 rows complete with Tunisian crochet, a forward pass, and a return pass, which is what I'm doing right now. Those two complete 1 stitch, or I'm sorry, forgive me, 1 row. It's you can count your rows real easy by simply counting what looks like single crochets on the side. So we are at 1, 2, 3, 4 rows done. So row 5, I can see that it's more closed off right here. Not so easy to access, but this second one's easy to access. So I know this is the row where I work in the second space, which means I'm going to work in the very last space as well. And once you get this stitch down pat, it goes by really fast. And I'm not going to lie, if you have a Tunisian hook, it goes by really fast as well. It is a little bit more cumbersome to work with this, but this will work. But you just have a bit more hand freedom when you have a full Tunisian hook. So now I'm going to work all the way to the last space right there. Just work the last space. Now I'm going to work my last stitch right here on the side. There we go. Pull through 2 all the way back. Now this will be row 5 completed. And again, you can just count your side stitches, the sides of each row. There we go. And we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so just keep, and I can tell I'm going to work the first stitch. You see how the first space opens right up? There we go. Makes it easy for you to really see. And that means I'm going to skip the last space. Okay, so just keep working in this fashion until you have 23 rows, or roughly almost 8 inches. When we work our final round, which is going to be a border of single crochet all around, you will have an 8-inch square. So it'll be almost 8 inches. But if you're using a worsted weight or Aran weight and a 5.5 millimeter hook, your measurements will be fine. And you can use any hook. You can use any weight of yarn. This isn't, this isn't anything set in stones. There's no rules on this. I'm pretty sure I'm not even using the right size hook and thread. It calls for a single Berlin wool, which is closer to a sport weight. Actually, a single Berlin wool is closer to a number 3 crochet thread. A double Berlin wool is closer to a sport weight. So I'm going to skip the last space because I started in the first space. So skipping the last, I turn my work to the side and I see my little, what looks like a single crochet right there. And I'm going to work right into that. There we go. It works up very, very fast, very, very easy. For a small baby blanket, I'm going to need to make 20 squares. And I am going to complete this baby blanket, not in this video, but I'm going to post a picture of it in the community post. It's just I have to wait 2 days for more yarn to come. I ran out of the yarn I was using. So you can see now it's a little more closed off. whenever I tug on it, what opens up easiest is going to be this second stitch right here. But you can also just look down and see this stitch is going into the front, which means we need to work in the second space, into the front. I just don't know how to speak. Into the first space, so now we work the second space. So yeah, I'm stuck waiting 2 whole days for more yarn to come. But as soon as I finish that blanket, which will be finished within a week, because that baby's coming, I'm going to share the final piece in a community post. The final blanket. Finished blanket. I'm not, y'all, I just woke up about 30 minutes ago, so I plugged in my glue gun. I really do need to wait a little while before filming right after I wake up, huh? So I can just look and see that there's a pretty good gap at the end there. See, these are all pretty close to each other. This has a gap that tells me, okay, I need to work the last space on this row. There we go. Well, you know, I was super excited about this pattern. I just wanted to make it and get this video out to you guys because I really think you guys are going to enjoy this one. It's fun. It's easy to make. It's a fun stitch to play with. Dropped my stitch. There we go. Okay, so I will be back whenever I have completed 23 rows. Let's go ahead and do a row count to where we are so far. Okay, and we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I will be right back. Yes, this will curl up on you, and it will be annoying. But in the end, it will be worth it. There you go. Very cute. Very cool looking. I'll be right back. Okay, let's finish this row up, and I'm going to switch to a 5.5 millimeter regular crochet hook. And of course, if you're using one of these, you don't have to switch. So our last stitch we're going to complete with our new color, which will be the black or any color of your choice. So there's the last stitch there. Go ahead and put my regular crochet hook in and grab the black. Again, you want a super duper long tail. I would say, I don't know, almost a foot, just really, really long. This is going to help us from having to weave in at the end of every single square we make. Because if you have a super long tail, you don't have to worry about a super secure weave-in. It will be secure. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, and now we're going to work 1 single crochet into every space, starting with the very first space. And don't work them too tight. Keep them kind of loose, or else you'll cause your work to buckle in. And you want to carry your working yarn, so the yarn you were using, and that really long tail, carry all of that together. And we're gonna bury it in across and down a little bit too. So just every space, work a single crochet. Again, not too tight, not so unbelievably loose, but just not really tight. And don't worry if the tails look kind of messy and chunky. We're going to give them a little tug and it'll clean it all up. You see, that looks kind of messy and yucky. Hold on to the end, give it a little tug, and then give the black one a little tug, and it cleans it up. We're coming up onto our first corner, and you want to work all the way into the last space, right where my fingernail is, the very last space. Kind of give things another tug to clean it all up. Okay, when we round the corners, let's do a nice loose chain one, not super loose, but definitely not tight. And then our side stitches right here, go into the side stitch, not into the space, but into the actual stitch. Make sure that you're carrying your tails along with you. These stitches are going to be really easy to access all the way around. Give a little tug. I'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, you're going to have to deal with this, you know, being rolled up. It's you know, I'm not going to lie, it's a little annoying. Eventually you get used to it. I did at first, it was really annoying, but then I got used to it. And I'm still working that tail in. Again, this way we don't have to take the time to stop and weave in everything. Like, we are doing a really good job just weaving in super long tails as we go. And that's going to be enough. I'll just cut those. And continue to work our single crochets. There we go. And you can see we have side stitch here, but this right where the knot is our first stitch going this way. So we work our last stitch on the side right here, chain one somewhat loosely, go into that first stitch where the knot is, and we're going to weave this tail in as well. Then you just pick up the next stitch over, and working through the back bumps. This is our foundation chain right here, but working through the back bumps has allowed us to easily find our stitches now because they look like regular single crochet. Give this tail a good tug. Okay, then we work our way over to the next corner. Okay, coming up to this corner here. That's my last stitch on this edge. And I'm going to continue to carry that tail down this edge as well, but I'm going to give it a little tug to clean this up back here. Nice loose chain one and into our first side stitch going this way. It's really easy. The stitches just really present themselves. It's not a challenge at all. I really enjoy it. The curl is a little bit frustrating, but again, you get used to it after a while. And when you sew everything together, that should completely flatten that curl out. Plus, we're going to do a round of single crochet around the entire blanket. I think one more. There we go. Okay, and then chain one and slip stitch into the top of your first single crochet, and then that's it. Now we only have one tail we have to actually weave in. Not bad. I always like to leave just a little bit sticking out, and I do think it would be good to line the back of these blankets with some flannel or some fleece, because it will hide all of the stitching back here. And if you want to leave little bits of tail out like I like to do sometimes, it'll be really great to hide that as well. So that's the back and that's the front, and it's a gorgeous stitch. All right, let's stitch these together, and then I'll show you how we're going to do the little round parts. So here's how it looks, checkerboard style, just like that. I'm going to be doing all one color. Like, what I mean is it's all going to be the pink camo. I know this is supposed to come out like camouflage style, but it came out stripy the way it worked out for me. Yet whenever I switched batches, I switched color batches and grabbed my other ball, it was much thinner and it started to actually look like more like camouflage instead of the stripes. So that's variegated. It's not super reliable, but I'm going to do all of the camo. Okay, so let's just go ahead and stitch those together. I just wanted to lay this out so that you can see how it looks checkerboard style. So with the blanket I'm making, it's going to be 4 squares wide, and I wrote those numbers down. With 4 squares wide, with each square at approximately 8 inches with the border, it's going to be 31 inches across, and I'm going to have 5 rows high of 4 squares wide. So let's get a little light. I'm going to use the pink camo, and we're going to stitch this with the right side facing up. You're going to want to match stitch for stitch. So here's our chain 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just join in the chain 1 space of each corner. There you are. There we go, with the chain 1. Now, working back loop on this side, but front loop on this side. That way we split it open. It's going to create this effect here, where it's like this ribbing. That's what we're trying to do. So here we have our 2 loops. Front loop, back loop, and on this side we have front loop and back loop, where we're going to go ahead and go with back loop on the panel closest to you and front loop on the panel furthest from you. Just like that, and join with a single crochet. It creates an interesting texture. So we have back loop, front loop, back, front, just like that. And you're going to want to do this with each square going across. What I mean is 1, 2, 3, 4, each square going across, and then you'll have these strips, and then we will sew the strips together going up. I know the black is probably difficult to see, but a lot of you are experienced crocheters, and I think you know exactly how this is meant to work out. And that is chain 1 and chain 1. So we will finish in the chain 1 space. There we go. There we go, just like that. Okay? And let me show you how to make the little discs, and then I'll go ahead and put a pretty good sample piece together for you. So what you're going to want to do next, though, is grab another square, join it up right here, and do the exact same thing. Once you have your full strip going that way, and you have them all done, then you're just going to line them up, one on top, and then just repeat, and you're going to want to stitch all the way across and join everything together. And then we have these little discs here that we're going to put at all of the join points. Let me show you how to make those little discs. Okay, again, you'll want to leave a long tail so that you can use it for sewing the disc, little disc guy on there. I'm going to use a magic circle. If you want to, you can just chain 2 and use your chain 1 as a magic circle, because you want this completely closed off in the center. Okay, so I guess I can show you what that would look like. Okay, so you would chain 1, chain 2, and then work into your chain 1, and that will create a nice closed off center. But I'm going to go ahead and work with a magic circle with a fairly long tail for sewing in. Okay, chain 3, yarn over and into the ring, draw up a long loop, just like that, about as long as the length of your chain 3. And then do that one more time and one more time. Pull through all the loops on your hook to create a puff. Yarn over and in the chain, tighten it up a little bit. I'm sorry, in the ring. We're going to do that again, 4 wraps, a 4 wrap puff. So yarn over, that's 1, yarn over, that's 2, 3, 4. Chain 1 and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're looking for a total of 6 puffs. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more puff. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to skip the chain 3 and skip that. Actually, we want to go into the top of the puff. So you want to skip over the chain 3 and don't work into this stitch either, but one more stitch over that's directly over your first puff. Join with the slip stitch. Tighten everything up, and there you go, just like that. And then when we go to sew it on, what I would do is your ending tail there, I would just bring that down to the center here. There we go. And now you've got 2 strands right in the center that you can use to tie it on. There we go. And that's our little disc. Okay, I don't know how many you're going to need to make because I don't know how big of a blanket you're going to need, but I do know you're going to need one for every single point and all around the outside of the blanket as well. Everywhere there is a join or a corner gets a little disc, and everywhere there is a join in the middle gets a disc. And I think that those turned out pretty good. You look at what these look like, and I think it's pretty good. Okay, so when you have your columns, we're just going to stack one on top of the other and do exactly what we did before. We're just going to sew them like that. So I'll go ahead and sew these really quick. Again, I'm going to join in my chain one space right there. And right there. Okay, and I'm going to just single crochet all across, making sure the right side is facing up. And I look forward to not fighting with the curl. Once these are all sewn together, we get the border on and the little dots on there. Okay, be right back. Okay, now I'm going to show you how we're going to finish this up. Now, I didn't cut because I do need to take these apart so I can create my 4 wide panels. So I'm just going to work around this. But now we're going to switch it to the wrong side facing. And we're going to work a border. We're just going to pretend this is the completed blanket, and we're going to work a border of single crochet all around. So go into a stitch, one of your single crochet stitches, and with your black or whichever color you chose to border each square with. And we're going to do a round of single crochet with the wrong side facing. This will hopefully help to correct some of the curl. But I don't know. So you just want to work your single crochets all around. When you get to a corner, just work your chain one before you turn, exactly how we did each square. I'm going to work across a little bit with you, get across this section here. So in order to clean up this section right here, we're going to work a single crochet into this single crochet and then just jump over to the next single crochet, which is right here. There we go. And that cleans up that spot right there. I feel like I came over too far. I may have missed the right stitch to work into. And I feel like I got it. Yeah, I just had to pull a little tighter. Okay. And you can work a single crochet round as many times that you want or need to. And it's helping to correct the curl a little bit. Washing and drying it a few times to relax the fibers will really help. Okay, working our way over to our corner. And chain one. That's my chain one space from before, so I'm going to go into that stitch right next to it. There we go. So it is helping to correct the curl a little bit, but yeah, I just think washing and drying with heat will really help relax these fibers. It's just the nature of Tunisian crochet. It's kind of stubborn like that. But it did help to relax the curl a little bit more. So it does help. Okay, so you'll want to work your single crochet border all around. Now let's go ahead and add the puffs. I'll go ahead and lock that stitch on right there. Again, when I get this blanket completed sometime within the next week, I'm going to post it on the community post. Okay, So where is, I'll show you initially with the little white puff so that you can see easier with the white puff. But I'm just going to go ahead and grab my darning needle, large darning needle. Find the center. And there we go. And actually, what I will do is come over a couple of stitches under here like that. That way I can just tie it on. Give a few really good knots. I'll have to cut this one off, but this isn't the color I'm going to use. I'm going to use black. And then you can like weave in these ends underneath, you know, going this way and this way. And there you go. And you're going to want to put one here, one here, here, where all the points are, where all the joins are. One right there, up there, there. So you get the basic idea here. I know it's kind of dark, but I think it's going to look really good. But yes, I feel really bad. I don't have a finished blanket for you, but mostly this video was just to show you how to work the pattern. And again, once I get this finished, I just have to wait 2 days or a day after tomorrow. My mail comes in close to 4 in the afternoon, so it feels like basically 2 days I got to wait for my yarn to come in before I can finish this, which is a real bummer. But I made 11 squares with 2 skeins of yarn. I made 11. So there they all are, all fruit rolled up. So yeah, I will check in with you guys on the community post, so be sure to watch that community post. But this is basically the pattern. So there you go. That is the 1863. There's that. So you can pick this pattern up. There's a link down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you follow along with the pattern, and I will see you guys in the next video. Again, look out for that community post where you will see this thing come to life.